If you buy groceries, pump gas, or plan to upgrade your phone anytime soon, your bill is going up starting tomorrow morning. The administration is targeting 60 trading partners that account for 99% of U.S. imports. That nearly full bar of imports is getting hit with a permanent 10 to 12.5% flat tax. This is a massive financial penalty, set to trigger in less than 24 hours, yet most people are currently unaware it is happening. At 12:01 a.m., the legal status of nearly every shipment entering the country changes, requiring immediate tax assessments at the border before any goods can move forward to store shelves. To understand why this is happening so fast, we have to look back at February. That is when President Trump first tried to use an emergency powers law called IEEPA to impose these tariffs. But the Supreme Court ruled against that move. They found that specific law did not authorize tariffs, which forced the administration to issue hundreds of millions of dollars in refunds to importers. The administration then switched to a backup plan, a temporary framework under Section 122 of the Trade Act. This allowed for a nationwide tariff, but it came with a strict 150-day time limit. That 150-day legal window expires exactly at midnight this Friday. Faced with the expiration of that temporary framework, the administration had to pivot to a different legal strategy to keep the tariff policy active past the Friday deadline. The solution they announced yesterday was to invoke Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer stated that our trading partners are failing to adequately ban goods made with forced labor, providing the legal basis for these new penalties. Unlike the emergency powers used in February, the Supreme Court has previously upheld Section 301, making these new tariffs much harder to challenge in court. While the forced labor report provides the legal justification, the practical result is a calculated escalation that restarts the trade war on a permanent basis. Despite common misconceptions, foreign governments do not pay these tariffs. They do not write checks to the U.S. Treasury. Here is how it actually works. When a shipping crate arrives at a U.S. port, the American importing business must pay that 10 to 12.5% tax directly to customs to get their goods released. Importers generally pass that cost down. They roll the tax amount into the wholesale invoice they send to domestic retail stores. Because retail margins are thin, store owners pass that cost to the customer. When you reach the checkout counter, the higher price on your receipt is how you pay the tariff. On Friday morning, any cargo containers arriving at U.S. terminals will immediately be assessed the new taxes. Because incoming oil tankers face the exact same tariff at the port, transportation costs are expected to rise, likely pushing gas prices up shortly after. For most store goods, there is a short delay. Retailers have inventory in warehouses that arrived before the deadline, but within 2 to 4 weeks, that price buffer will likely run out. Groceries will be the first sector affected. Prices for items that America imports almost exclusively, like bananas, coffee, and cocoa, will be among the first to rise. That wave of rising costs will eventually hit electronics, clothing, hardware, and furniture as new shipments replace old stock. The U.S. economy relies heavily on global supply chains for daily essentials, which makes these widespread price increases difficult for most households to avoid. The administration believes that making foreign goods more expensive is the only way to force companies to move their manufacturing back to the United States. But while the political goal is long-term, the immediate consequence is a sudden increase in daily living expenses for every American demographic. Starting at midnight, the 10 to 12% tax applies to 99% of imports, making the goods that power the American lifestyle more expensive to bring across the border.